This is Noise11, and we are here today to talk about Aunty O with niece T, Tottie Goldsmith. Welcome.
Yeah, niece T, I like that. Thanks, Paul.
Was she always Aunty O to you?
That's how she signed off to, before the internet, there were letters. And when she wrote us letters, she'd always sign them Aunty O. And then when it moved over to, the internet, she'd sign off as, Aunty O to my brother, sister and I.
And what about when you were, in the room together? Who was she in the room?
No, it was Liv. No, totally Liv. But also in this piece that I've written, I also put in a poem that my sister had written, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And she read it, and it's called Aunty O. And it's a beautiful poem. It's just glorious. And she read it to Olivia, and Olivia said, "That must be my eulogy." And so Fiona read it at her private memorial in LA, in Santa Ynez. And so I'm reading part of it because it's so her. It's just a gorgeous poem.
Olivia Newton-John was such an icon of Australia. Like, she was loved by not only millions of Australians, but, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people all around the world. I guess people like me knew her from the music and the movies. You knew her as family. So getting up there, this must be a very emotional show for you to have to put together and condense into a couple of hours.
Yeah, it started out just really organically. I'm just one of those, women tend to do this. When we're dealing with emotions, we write. I do therapy. I love therapy, believe in therapy. And from a long time ago, I was encouraged to write out my feelings, to get them out of your body. I encouraged my daughter to do it. And my friends. And when Liv died, everything, of course, kind of went into writing about her because I was grieving. And then I think when you lose people that are close to you or have a big impact in your life, it's very heightened what they brought to you. So I was writing about her, and then people were approaching me about doing tribute shows. And the only one I jumped in on was with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, called Hopelessly Devoted, because I'd met Mark Sutcliffe, who was the artistic director. I'd met him backstage with Olivia when she sang with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, and it was going to be really classy. And so I jumped in with that, and I hosted it and did a duet with David Campbell, but other amazing singers, Christy Whelan-Brown and Jess Hitchcock, and just incredible singers. And then I did get approached a few times about doing something on Olivia, and it just was never right. I didn't have that relationship. I wasn't a fan as such. I just loved her. Do you know what's been interesting with this process? I didn't really know a lot of the lyrics to the songs because it's only when you're a real fan you know all the lyrics. And I've got these two singers that just were obsessed with Greece. One of them performed in Greece. So they're doing all the shoot up. And I'm like, thank God someone here knows it. That it's more of a story about, it's not about Olivia and her life. It's more about what she brought to mine and my siblings' life. Our mother, her older sister, Rona, by 7 years, left to pursue her career and went back to England when I was not yet 3 and my siblings were, 4 and 5-ish. Fiona might have been 6 by then, and with no contact. And so our father raised us and kept getting married, trying to give us mothers and lots more siblings. And Olivia was a very important role in our lives growing up. And, of course, when we were younger, we looked at her as more of a mother figure. And then as you get older, then you become friends. And I worked with her at the hospital, at the Olivia Newton-John Cancer Wellness Centre for, 20 years, before it was even a hole in the ground, from the inception. So we had a multi-leveled relationship, but she was a very big part of my life. And I think not having a mother growing up, that is what you crave. You need that empty space filled. And I found that with, my girlfriends. I've got incredible girlfriends, but Olivia was obviously the most important. And also we wouldn't have met our mother without her. She gave us all a first-class Pan Am ticket. I can still see her writing it. And for our 18th birthday, we went over to Los Angeles because our mother had moved there when Olivia's career took off with Greece. And I talk about meeting my mother. I talk about my mother dying and I was with Liv. I talk about road trips we did. I talk about what she taught me as a human. I almost said woman, but it's as a human. And she was imperative in my emotional well-being and a great friend and a beautiful human. And she led by example. She never, ever told me what to do. She never suggested anything. She'd always helped me to find the answers to things. And I think the message I want to share is not only the depth of Olivia and the wisdom and the strength, but also what I learned from her are beautiful life lessons about surrender and forgiveness and all sorts of things that people will be able to go away with. It's very uplifting. There's sad moments. And I talk about when my mother died and what it meant to me. I was looking after her when she died, and right at the end, there's fun moments with Liv and I, fun moments with, when I first met John Travolta, and, so there's a whole lot of different stories in it.
Olivia was playing in Vegas at the time that your mother became very ill and cancelled all of the shows at that time. They must have remained very close over the years.
Well, my mum moved over when Greece happened, and then my mother married Jeff Conaway, who played Kaniki in Greece. And, it was a bittersweet relationship. My mother was quite a troubled woman, but really good fun. And so it was kind of a bittersweet relationship. But Olivia felt very responsible for her and her son moving over from the UK. Rona left her second marriage and provided for them. But it was really important to her. She was constantly trying to bring us into our mother's life and vice versa, which proved to be very tricky. And I talk about that in the play.
Rona and Olivia did record a song together, Just Us Two, in 1972. Will that feature in your show?
No.
It's a pretty bad song.
Not.
It's a pretty bloody awful song.
It's a pretty awful song. And all the songs I've chosen, apart from Greece, because they're so much fun, and I have John Travolta and Olivia stories, but they're all, I'd never really listened to her songs. And when I was writing and really listening to the songs, I realised that they actually helped me tell the story. Mm. So I use the music as a way to enhance the story.
Your career paths align, her with a music, film and television, you with your music, film and television. How closely did you study Olivia to put the template together for your own career?
I didn't study Olivia's career. I mean, we always talked about it. When she was getting a film, she always called me Plonker. She go, Plonker, I wish you were doing it. You're a much better actress. But I said yes. And, so we just kind of, bounced on. But I didn't. I was going to be creative anyway. My sister's a poet. My brother's a musician. He was in the Chantoozies. We were raised around celebrity. Our father was the doyen of the nightclub industry in Australia. And from a very young age, we're meeting people like the Osmond Brothers, the Jackson Five, Liza Minnelli, Peter, celebrity was kind of desensitized to us because we were around it all the time. And that's even before Liv's career took off. I knew of all her earlier country music and I loved it. And, I saw her, but I certainly didn't follow. I'm a very different performer. We've got a lot in common. We're cut from the same cloth in terms of, and I think that's why she asked me to work on the cancer centre with her, because our values are very aligned. Our passion for other people, our empathy is very aligned, and our laughter, our sense of humour. But I think things just happen subconsciously and by default. There was certainly no master plan. When I was 19, I did my first TV show, Young Doctors, and it was nothing to do with Liv. I wanted to be a dancer, and I was obsessed with dance, and I dislocated my right hip, and And I couldn't point. I used to get cramp. So I segued from being a dancer. I just went and joined a theatre group down the road. And it happened to be Mark Trevorrow, who plays Bob Down, Gina Riley from Kath and Kim, and all these people that did really well were all in this tiny little theatre group that I joined, walking distance from my house. So there was never been a master plan for me, and there still isn't. I'm still fumbling along.
Fumbling along very successfully, I might add.
I'm doing all right. But imagine if I just had done one thing, because I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, which I still don't. But, if I wasn't, I was doing breakfast radio and hosting TV shows and acting and singing the Chantoozies and doing all this stuff. And if I'd focused on one thing, but being a bit of an ADD brain, that was never going to happen for me.
Well, maybe it's in your DNA. I mean, Olivia's grandfather, your great-grandfather, was the world-renowned physicist Max Born, who was a personal friend of Albert Einstein. Maybe the genes have carried through.
Well, I don't know about the intelligence, but there's a lot of music in there. My grandmother actually, Liv's mum, Grandma Rona, kept all of the letters that Max Born, my great-grandfather, he was a Nobel Prize winner. Albert Einstein had actually suggested him for the Nobel Prize. They were best friends, and obviously when the Nazis came in, because they were very important, people, they had to move them out to England. So that's how my family sort of went from Germany to England. My great-grandfather was Jewish, but his wife wasn't. So when they were sent to England, they weren't near each other, and they used to write each other letters. And my grandmother kept the letters and created a book called Born Einstein and translated all of the German letters of, what they were talking about physics and people and nature, extraordinary things in a wonderful book. So my grandmother was creative too. My dad's was really creative. So it's kind of in the blood. It's a DNA.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of your 6 degrees of separation and your 1 and 2 degrees of separation. There's some incredible names in there.
Yeah. Can I share something wild? My sister, my older sister Fiona, she went to a retreat in Mexico, just like a health retreat, and she really bonded with this woman. And around the same age, my sister's 65, I think, and just chatting. And it turns out that this woman is in some area of science. And then she said to Fiona, once they spent a couple of days chatting, oh, yeah, my great-grandfather was Albert Einstein. And Fiona just stopped and went, this is wildest thing. My great-grandfather was Max Born. So Fiona texted me and said, you won't believe what's happened. So I took a photo of the book and the foreword inside and sent it to her. And these two women, she was English, in Mexico, and that both their great-grandfathers were these Nobel Prize winners. What are the odds? And best friends.
That was a meeting that was meant to happen.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I love that.
Was Olivia ever considered for a Chantoozie?
No, she was too good for us. But she did come to gigs. And she said, the girls didn't listen to me, but she said, your voices, this is when the four of us were together, your voices blend so well. The best songs are when you're all in unison doing harmonies. And I passed it on, but they didn't listen. But, yeah, she was so supportive. I'll tell you how supportive she was. I was doing a play called Calendar Girls. And she was already going to be leaving Melbourne on opening night. And so she just turned up to a rehearsal.
Wow.
That's how beautiful.
Did she ever get up on stage with you?
No, she'd never want to full focus. She just wasn't that kind of,
The Chantoozies, I think the time you would have started, I'm just trying to think of my radio career, 1980, mid-1980s. So it would have been 2WL.
First single.
I remember all of the vinyl singles, the 7-inch single on Mushroom. We were still getting those delivered way back then. So it would have been which Queen and He's Going to Step on You Again. Wasn't He's Going to Step on You Again? Wasn't that released at the same time as the Party Boys, and you were kind of competing on the chart?
it was funny. It was just really bad timing because we were in the studio, they're in the studio. Neither of us knew that the other people were doing it and went to release it at the same time.
Great song.
And he did a great song. I actually really love that song. But, yeah, it's just timing. How weird is... I mean, it's not weird, I guess. There was something about that song at the time. It was probably being covered everywhere.
Yeah, but, you know, you had two covers and then came along Wanna Be Up, co-written with Eve from the Chantoozies and your brother Brett. And, you know, what a magnificent premiere of internally what the Chantoozies could do.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of them. You know, Eve's still writing. She sent me some of her material last week and I'm like, oh, my God, you've got to get that out. It's just beautiful. And it was great to be able to do something that we'd written and it did well. I mean, that was the best out of the Chantoozie songs in terms of its people really enjoying it. But it was so funny because I left the band maybe 4 years ago. It was pre-COVID and I wanted to go and move to the States and study acting. And, of course, I went over there. I'm in the best acting school to me in the world with Ivana Chubbuck. I'd studied with her in master classes in Melbourne. 3 months in, I've got my groove. I'm doing classes everywhere and I'm trying to get my O1 and then COVID came out. So I packed up my life. I had a goodbye party. And then 3 months later, I'm home going, my guys.
So they took you back?
They took me back. No, I didn't go back to the band. No, because then we were in lockdown for 2 years. But then we did Take Me in Your Arms. I did that, which was a cover, and I shot the whole film clip on an iPhone, and I got an editing suite that was really hard, and I taught myself how to edit, and I learned split screens and all sorts of things and upskilled my brain, and that was really good fun. But then I just went, you know what, I don't want to keep... There was so much more in me to do than to be singing other people's songs. And so I thought it's time for me to step out and see what happens.
Well, the Aunty O show is really going to take up all of 2025 for you. I mean, you know, we're starting 21st of February in Melbourne suburbs, but, you know, you've got shows going right through until, I think, where are you? The Gold Coast in August. Yeah. So what we did was we kind of, to get a show started, because it's not tried and tested and we're doing it on our own, Darren Danielson from Music Supply and I are sort of, look, he's the producer, but we're kind of co-producing it. And we've rented theatres. And so once the show's up and running, it's already started happening. People are buying it as a package. And that's before it's even up and running. And so that's how it will, you know, because a lot of people are writing and saying, are you going to come to Sydney and Adelaide and all these places we want to go to? But once the show is up, we're still in rehearsals, then we'll be able to start filling in all the gaps in those dates. And I'm getting a lot of requests from overseas. So at one stage, we're going to film it and then we'll be able to stream it, which will be great. Well, you said that you've scripted the show as you need to do for something like this so you can maintain the momentum of the storyline as you go along. Would that script at some point become a book?
Oh, it could very well become a book. There's so much, you know, considering the amount of songs, so it's 2 1-hour sets maximum. That's like including applause, everything. I've timed it out. There is so much more to it, and it could definitely become a book. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're in for a fun 2025, Tottie Goldsmith.
Oh, I'm so excited, and meeting the band because Darren, you know, the producer, he chose the singers. And he said, trust me. And I went, I do trust you. And they are amazing. And the band is incredible. And I love the rehearsal process. So I'm just in heaven. And I'm actually, once I sent the script to the band so they understood there's big pauses where they're, you know, standing there, I wanted them to understand what it was about. And I got the most incredible feedback from it. So that's given me another sense of confidence that it translates.
The show is Aunty O. It's about Olivia Newton-John, Tottie Goldsmith, niece T, as we said.
Niece T. I love that. Yeah.
That could almost be your rapper name if you wanted to become a rapper.
Niece
You could be
T.
Niece T.
Aunty O and Niece T. That's very cute.
Ice Cube and Niece T. Yeah. Yeah.
Ice Cube and Niece T. Yeah.
Yeah. Tottie, great to talk to you. Some great stories there, and people can come and watch it on the stage.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks. Good to see you.